Hello, everyone. Welcome back to Awaken Hidden Truth with Scott Lemriel. Hello, Scott.
Hi, Perry. Yeah, it's been a few weeks since we've been back on, huh?
Right. So now, we will have a show once a month, because we have so many videos, people can keep watching them and to have experience.
Right. Yeah, and it gives you a chance to do other things you need to do and to work on other things that are neat and important for the uplifting benefit of all life living, not just life
Mhm.
Earth, all over the universe. This is what this work has been about.
Yes. And I have so much experience, since I have met you. Scott, thank you so much. And
Yeah,
all the friends too.
well, I have to thank you too because it takes courage to do what we're doing. We call this a radio show. It's recorded on my end and it's sent to you, and you put it up on your YouTube channel, Awaken Hidden Truth, and that's nothing could be truer. That's exactly what it's about, Awaken Hidden Truth. Hidden meaning people don't know about it, they're afraid to see it, or it's subconsciously set against them discovering it, meaning that emotional surges that they feel affect the nervous system. It inspires them to imagine negative things. Those are programs. They're negative programs and they aren't conscious, they're subconscious. When people think about subconscious, they often try to identify it with the human brain, that it's subconscious in here. It's not. It's not even here. It's not even in the head. It's not in the physical body. It's in an energy field that surrounds what a person really is, an atma, soul. And that is a form of energy that's not nuclear. It's energy, but it isn't made of nuclear or atomic material. It is not atoms. It's not electrons, protons, neutrons. It's not any of the things that make up the lower dimensions of time and space. It isn't DNA. It's not telomeres on the end of the DNA that shrink every time they duplicate, which causes aging. Those are switches. And in greater science, they can be turned in a number of directions or stopped altogether, including eliminating aging. Of course, people on Earth, the way they are, it would be absurd for them to live forever in physical bodies. The way this world is, as unconscious as people are, the way they treat animals, the way they treat the environment, the way governments lie to everybody because they're afraid to tell the truth. They want to, but they're afraid, and all this kind of thing. It's self-perpetuating circle. People are running around in circles trying to go somewhere, but they're not doing what's necessary for them to go upward in a spiral, in enlightenment or awareness. That takes stopping running around in circles and stepping back and looking at consciously what we choose to imagine, because imagination is not made up in the brain. I've mentioned this many times, and people can know the information, but they need to have the direct experience, the understanding, the knowing about it in order to change. In other words, imagination, when we see something or imagine something, there's not a part of the brain that is like a motion picture camera that can project an image on a movie screen, and in the brain you see imagination. The brain is not designed to do that. Imagination isn't even in the brain. It doesn't come from the brain.
Scott, and with this situation on planet Earth with COVID, how can we use the right imagination, because people are so, in
Well,
fear.
first of all, I can tell people the truth. I can even show them directly, experientially, even the techniques for them to begin to have direct experience about what I talk about and share with them. But they have to do it, have the courage to do it, to make change, because there are beings in the universe that will help them make that change if they see that a person actually wants to change. If they want to stay in fear of God, what they think God is, or fear of the unknown, or fear of death, or fear of life, or fear of reincarnation, or fear of anything, or they think this is the only life they'll ever live and they're going to go to some heaven forever. If they believe this kind of thing, it's based on fear. Because they do this because they think it's a ticket out of here, a ticket to freedom. But there is no such ticket. We have to be responsible beings, what people call soul, and consciously aware in order to be productively effective in co-creating with the source behind all life, what they call God. They can't have a bunch of childish children coming up there that have learned nothing other than to believe something. They also need to take the next step. Belief is good, but it needs to lead into experience. So I'm not never denigrating or putting down faiths or beliefs anywhere on earth. It's just that they need the new kind of energy coming up from within so that people involved in these things can have real direct enlightening and awakening and aware experiences about what they believe in. And I don't just mean, basically it comes down to having some way to have direct experience so that faith leads to knowing, and knowing leads to being a co-creator with the source, because then people can be trusted and they can be given or help to recover higher faculties, greater abilities, greater consciousness. It's very reciprocal. From my perspective, there is one energy field, a type of energy, that is running and is behind and underneath all things that float in it, right? Like a planet turning on its axis, suspended in this void, so-called, and a moon turning around the planet, and them going around the sun, and the sun's going around bigger suns, and them turning around the central nucleus of a galaxy, which opens a portal into a higher reality, and energy is transferred through that whirl out into this universe. It's a way of a higher dimension supporting a lower dimension. They are interdimensional doorways. And the toroidal field of energy that surrounds a galaxy, like the one that surrounds the Earth, the gravitational fields, and one that surrounds the spherical being that we are, spherical. This is what is made in the image of the source itself, not one of these. These are forms that this runs, okay? This genetic entity, or this DNA form made of molecules and atoms, and has the same molecular time rate as the air around me. This, the desktop, when I touch this, it feels solid because the molecules are vibrating at the same time rate as this, and they can't go through each other. If you change the molecular time rate of this to a faster level, pass right through here, because it's really not here. It's on another vibration, another level. So the universe, this one energy, is in the highest realms far beyond the void known to certain esoteric groups on Earth, which is many planes up from here. There's a kind of a barrier. And then there's this levels beyond that that are pure positive, that are made of an energy that is not nuclear atomic, but it is an energy that is sent down into these dimensions. And it is the void of space between galaxies, between planets, between stars. And all these things create these little electromagnetic whirls, and they float in this other energy that supports that. And that is a living conscious energy. It is the 0 point or toroidal energy, or the energy of the universe. And what people don't realize, the way they are on Earth right now, is that their physical body, their aura, is a toroidal field surrounding the body through the chakra centers, and then who they are is a spherical being running that brain and body through the pineal gland in the center of the brain. That's how we run these machines. We aren't these human bodies, but we run them in order to feel and sense and have experience about the parallel dimension where this body is. The Atma gathers information, perceives its reality. And if it's free, then it's not believing it's trapped in a body. It doesn't believe it is a body. It's running it. And it's doing it for benevolent reasons. It's doing it to gather and to imagine and come up with new ways of doing things, and then go back to the source it came from, what people call heaven, and deliver that to the source, like give back to the center something new that it never thought of, because we are, as individuals, part of it. And we are being entrusted to come up with new ways to do things, which is why all this exists. The one energy that runs through everything fills the void of space. When you get outside of planet Earth and you're out in space between the sun and the moon and the stars, that appears to human eyes on Earth as black or void of light and color. But that's only because human eyes cannot see into a high enough frequency to see that it has color and it is light and it's bright and it's packed with energy. This dark matter, they used to call it, isn't dark at all. There is matter in the void, like gases and molecules and rays from the sun and all that, but the predominant amount of it is this other energy, and it's not a void. It's not void at all. It is what everything else is supported and floats in on all these different dimensional levels. Each being, when they remember who they are, that isn't a body or a brain or one lifetime, is capable of understanding this, just like the source does, because they are an individual drop out of a huge ocean of this same energy. And that one energy that runs through all creation from the bottom to the lowest plane, all the way to the source far beyond the void, is still the same energy on different levels of vibration. But it's still the one energy behind it. When we go into the hue, when we start plugging into this, we plug right into that. Not psychic, not positive and negative is what I mean. I'm not putting down psychics. It's not positive and negative what we plug into. It's the energy behind that, before it existed, just like us. Because we, as souls or atmas, existed before the worlds of time and space were even made. And that's really huge when people begin to understand what and who they are. That isn't the illusion of this one lifetime, or losing this, or fear of death, or any of the other things. Enlightenment, from my perspective, means understanding and knowing and respecting all life in the multidimensional creation. To do that, we have to get over these fears and respect all life. To embrace a bigger God and have the rewards of that, we have to be able to respect all of it. Not just life on Earth, not just your neighbor, not whether we're Chinese or Japanese or African American or Caucasian or some other thing, or beings that are human that don't even have these skin colors or different eyes, red or violet or gold eyes or pointed ears or different skin or whatever. These are body forms that were developed over billions of years to the level where they could be spacefaring and an atma could run them. They are a genetic entity, not who we are. And this alone, if people were taught this growing up on Earth, and not just as information, but as direct experience, they're out of their body, they know who they are, they see each other, and they look at the bodies. That's direct experience. When people begin to have that, they begin to change for the better. Period. They just do. The Atma has built into it what people call soul. All these different faculties and all these levels to a white core at its center that has the capability of tuning into any place in creation and being there or experiencing knowing it from here. Because the energy that we move through telepathically, that is this one energy, is not limited by time and space, the speed of light, or gravity. Because it is not those things. What we really are is not and never has been comprised of molecules or atoms or atomic energy or nuclear energy or fusion or the explosions on the sun or the turning of a galaxy. Any of that. Those things came into creation long after we did. So then when I ask people, how old are you? Well, if their mindset is this is the only life they live and then they go off to some place and they're given a reward, you can't get through to them because they're afraid if they really know God or the source, most of them are terrified to really know that. People believe they cannot know that. They're not bright enough. Well, there's a brain and a body. They're absolutely right. They're not. They're correct. But as the Atma, what they really are, they are capable of knowing that and understanding it and working with it, co-creating with it. We are meant to co-create wondrous new ways of doing things for the benefit of all life, our neighbors on other planets, other dimensions, other planes. Each single being is capable of doing this. They just don't know it. On Earth, they don't have a clue about this, and they're terrified of it in general. If people claim to love God, which many people and with um, religious fervor and all that on Earth claim to, but they cannot respect the life that's the greater God beyond this one planet out there, then they can never have what they're praying to, because they're limiting themselves to that little focus, probably without realizing they're doing it. So when a person begins to let go of some of that limits on themselves, they were brought up with or taught by people who are themselves limited, then they can begin to comprehend and communicate with and associate with beings from other worlds, master teachers they never even dreamed existed from other worlds and other dimensions, and they can get assistance. But they can't get that assistance if they're in terror of it. Fear of the present and the future blocks all change, prevents anybody from of a higher status or advanced nature from communicating with them. Not because those beings couldn't do it, but they won't force their will on anyone. They know better than that. So it's actually people on Earth blocking it with fear. Fear is artificially created emotion. It's not even a real emotion that is a kindred spirit of the Atma or soul. So where did it come from? How did people get subconscious minds? Meaning something that's in some level of their awareness that can influence or affect them to make decisions, usually incorrectly, that they don't even know is there. They know there's something
Correct.
misdirecting and bothering them that causes them to feel afraid or to imagine negative things about the present or future.
I agree on this, Scott. I think many people, they don't even know that they are in fear and why they are fear, why they fear of what, this is I think the main problem.
I think they know they're in fear. They just don't know why. And they don't know what to do about it. And I don't blame them, the people on Earth, the people that run governments on this planet, people that are heads of religions, why they fight each other is because of fear. Fear that someone's going to get the best of them before they get the best of the other people. It's fear. It's not based in anything that's real. It's based in a complete illusion of reality. Because the universe is sitting there perfectly floating in galaxies twirling on their axis, and everything's fine. But the people on Earth are so confused about who they really are that is not one of these. You can't blame anybody for being as mixed up as they are on this planet, because Earth is not a normal human planet. People just don't know what else to compare it to growing up here. They have no way of knowing what's out there. And I can say this with certain confidence. What is underway out in the universe now is moving through our solar system, and it's heading our way. And it isn't what people think. It isn't what they believe. It's the truth they were made to forget somewhere in their past. It's a truth they're terrified of confronting because they're afraid that what happened to them in the past will be done to them again. And they'll end up on a body here with no memory, raising a baby body, and they can't remember why they're here or where they came from or anything else. And people just assume that's God's will. It isn't. It's what they've done over time, over a very long period of time, to end up on a planet like this, one way or another, captured by tyrants, planted, stuffed in a body, and made to forget. That's how people ended up on this planet in general. And remembering how that happened is not pleasant. But if they're provided with the means and the personnel and the people that can help them have a safe experience to recall that, so that it becomes nothing more than a memory and no longer affects them subconsciously in a negative way, then that is a good thing indeed. Most people that are on Earth today could not handle a ship landing from another planet with a kind man and woman walking out and inviting them aboard. They think they could, but they couldn't. Subconscious things would make them turn and run in terror. When they want to go like this and meet him, their body would be heading the other way. and they wouldn't even know why. This is an unfortunate truth. There's a reason why people don't land and pick people up, because people aren't ready to be picked up. And they do not waste their time idly entertaining people like that. They don't have time to waste like that coming to this planet. People need to be prepared, and that means not throwing our beliefs and our junk and our fears on them if we get on board. And that's what people would do almost uncontrollably. And then there would be no communication between those beings and the person they brought on board. All that person would have an experience of, look at the controls, I'm on a spaceship. And they're brought back and they're just as dumb and unconscious as they were before they were brought aboard. It doesn't change anyone. Consciousness and changing the consciousness to embrace a larger universe is what friends I have from other worlds and master teachers are. That's what their work is all about. So they'll work with people on Earth when they're out of their body at night, because the fact of the matter is, no matter what anybody believes on this Earth, they all leave their bodies every single night. They put that body to sleep. Like masters, people on Earth can put a body to sleep without giving it a second thought. And they identify with the body so strongly, they will make themselves unconscious. They're really somewhere else. And when they come back and wake that body up in the morning, that is in a trance state we call sleep, which means that being has caused the pineal gland in the center of the brain to secrete serotonin, make melatonin, put that body in automatic while they leave. That's what everybody's doing. Fear, which is an artificially created emotion, goes back into galactic history, how and why and when and where for each individual, is a type of energy that shuts down or doesn't allow the higher faculties and higher information to come in through the pineal gland and be received by what we call the genetic entity on Earth. And the genetic entity on Earth, this brain and body personality group with this life, think about it. Could anybody in one lifetime go to college and learn enough to write Star Wars from what he learned in college? Or what he had programmed in this brain in all the experiences of his childhood and adulthood? No. Impossible, because it's not in here. So where does it come from? When people write about other dimensions and other things, they're actually going into, I know from my own experience, they're going into a kind of a trance state. It's like putting the body to sleep, but they're still alert and dedicated, writing and seeing what they're writing, right? They're actually tuning into either a past life far away, long, long ago, or some other place or reality in order to write what they write, because that information is too vast and too big for one brain to learn in one lifetime from any teacher on this Earth. It's not in here, so how do they put it down on paper? People don't stop to think about this properly. They never really comprehend what it is they're doing. So they're writing all this stuff subconsciously, in a way, unconsciously. They get control enough to, when people are in that writing, they're out of fear. They're not in fear, or they could never connect with what they're seeing and write about it. So the fear is turned off at least long enough while they're in that dedicated state to bring all this information in. Look, when I wrote this book, these are real images created by an original artist I hired with my oversight. This is Saturn. This is the ice rings that make it up. This is an emerald star cruise. It's a mile long. The character on the back is a real being who was an actor, acted out this part. These weren't gotten images, weren't taken from the internet. This is original. What's in here, I could not have possibly learned in this lifetime from any guru or anybody on Earth to put it down in this book. I had to be going through this experience, present or past life, in order to put it down. Only I knew that's what I was doing. And as it was written, I became more and more conscious and more aware of what was taking place, because I wanted to know. I wasn't afraid of death, and I wasn't afraid of dying, and I wasn't afraid to confront what had happened to me. It's the only reason I found it out. So I can share that with people. When I wrote this book, the first book of the Parallel Time Trilogy, the characters on the front of this book are real actors in costume to portray these parts, so they're very realistic. These are created digitally and CGI kind of thing, and internet. These are created in a computer software program. They're anti-gravitic disks. This little guy, Etta, is a Dren, silica based. He's not from Earth. This is what we look like as soul. People talk about it on Earth. They have no idea what it is or even what it looks like. They think it's one of these, only transparent. That's an astral body. And they're only looking at it kind of out of body to see it as transparent. But on the astral plane, it's not transparent. So this, on the cover, this doorway to the fifth reality beyond the void, and this ship stationarily hovering, this is the captain. This woman with blue skin is Melina. She's from another planet. She's not, none of these people are from Earth. But this is taking place on Earth over 100,000 years ago, just after the poles flipped and destroyed Lemuria and a colony continent people on Earth call Atlantis today. There's a history goes back before Edgar Cayce, before any of that. That's further back, and this goes back before the prior polar shift and involves extraterrestrials. And then there are two sequels. This guy here is an actor portraying Sendar, a human who becomes quite evil, who's in this book. There is a trilogy. This is the Emerald Doorway. The Emerald Doorway is an interdimensional portal between the past and present time on Earth. That will help people understand. Each of these books have a glossary of characters and terms in the back, and they are extraterrestrial in nature. So people can read definitions of things. Oh, this has over 30 illustrations, highly defined illustrations of characters and some scenes in the book itself. So when people go through it, it's highly defined. They're in black and white, but they're very well done. I'm going to show you one in particular, if I can find it here, of a little guy named Etta. There he is. Now that creature is levitating off the ground with his tail that grows like crystal opal in bright sunlight. He has hands and fingers like a human, pale green skin, bulbous blue eyes, very cute, very endearing, courageous to a fault, about 3 feet long, has a photographic memory, vocal cords, and you can speak with him, but he's not carbon-based, he's silica-based. He's not from Earth. So when people go through these books, these two books have a link. One is about us in the past, an extraterrestrial involved, meaning beings human and otherwise from other worlds back then, influencing things in this solar system and this reality we're in now. This one is more about what's changing out in the galaxies amongst extraterrestrial races, including many human races, that is changing what they're doing and how they're doing it. And that energy is moving right through our solar system, and it's coming right through Earth at some point. It's not the same as it was in history. The poles of Earth used to shift or flip overnight about every 100,000 years, and that's been permanently stopped. People talk about golden age to iron age and back again. That's done. We're not going through that cycle anymore for this planet because it's been given a kind of a reprieve. You can't have cultures developing for hundreds of millions of years like they do in other worlds. If the poles flip and destroy all the land masses and rise new ones up from the seafloor, cyclically, overnight, it's very destructive. No one survives it. Very few people. Most life is destroyed. So when it calms down, the planet is recolonized from outside. Human beings never evolved on this planet, ever. Not out of amoebas, not out of fish from the sea, not from monkeys, not from Cro-Magnon, Neanderthal, none of that. They're never going to find on this planet a missing bone or something that connects us to the genetics of the body forms we see now. All different races on one planet never evolved on this planet. They were imported here, usually as slaves and made to be unconscious and shut down. I can only tell people the truth. I can't make, it's like leading a horse to water. I can't make him drink. I don't even care to try. But I can at least share with them my direct experience and share with them techniques and things that will help them to recover their own knowing. And they have to work at it. They have to want it.
Yes, highly recommend to read the two books and go on journeys that people can get their own direct experience. I reassure.
So I want to share that, and I've shared it before, and it bears repeating because people hear this, but they don't really grok it. Grok it means they don't understand it. Some part of them seems to sense that it's familiar to them, leaving the body consciously without fear. Some people are terrified. They think the devil will get them if they do that. I try to point out to them the obvious fallacy in that thinking. They're out of their body every night. If the devil was going to get them, it's already got them because they're on earth with no memory. They don't remember who they were before this life. They don't remember how they got here. They don't remember where they're going. They don't remember what their purpose for existing is with the source they pray to every day. And that's not normal. It just isn't. And every single person on this earth knows it down deep. It's not right. So because of that, there's a part of a person at the core of their being, when it's properly awakened, brought to the surface, that assists them to take back command over anything that was created after they found themselves in existence, which means they begin to have command over all negative things, negative technologies, negative beings in or out of bodies, and they come back into a basic harmony, what we call serenity of being. That is the natural state of a being to work with the source behind all life. That's how incredible it is. We're meant to co-create with it, not just worship it under, like we're under its feet and it controls everything. It's a dominant dictator or tyrant. We are made of the same thing as that source on a smaller scale. We're meant to co-create with it. That is our destiny and our purpose as beings, whether people know it yet or not. Sooner or later, they will discover it. It's inevitable because what people call evil was never meant to be permanent. It is the one thing that's erasable in a being's evolution into co-creating with the source. It's the one thing that gets erased. All the good stuff and positive stuff is not erasable. Why? Because when the lessons are learned from all this negative stuff, it's done away with. Also, negative and positive, good and bad, fear, the devil, God, the opposites like that they were never a successful form of creation from the source, from all of us. It means that it's an experiment in eternity that failed because it did not do what it was meant to do, which was to cattle prod and inspire people to produce enlightened logic in the right way and become a co-creator, a trustworthy being with the source. Most beings that get caught up in bodies in the lower worlds get trapped in that life after life, and they don't even remember where they came from. That is all reversible. I guess my work in general is about getting people to understand that it is reversible. And so the question is, well, how do you do it? Well, you've got subconscious drives that drive you to make negative imagination and therefore trap yourself. But you've also got a core energy at your being that's trying to come to the surface that says, this isn't right. I don't belong here. This isn't who I am. I'm supposed to be doing and knowing ever so much more than I do now. In fact, most people say, I used to know more than this. What happened? There's a certain level of courage that comes up through all of that positive and negative, good and bad stuff that takes back charge over that. When you wake up higher faculties of being, it begins to exercise a dominant control over those things, and people stop of free will imagining negative things. It's like a key on a computer, right? On a keyboard. Okay? I'm looking at this keyboard. Now, let's call this the subconscious mind. People don't know what that is or where it is, not in the brain, okay? And I want to turn off fear of death. I just turned it off subconsciously.
Yeah,
I want to
it's
turn
not
off.
that easy, Scott, for people.
I want to turn off fear of the present and the future. I just turned off that program. We do that through an energy frequency that connects us to source energy, the toroidal, the 0-point energy of the universe that's in and between all things that float in it, all the way up through dimensions, which the more advanced spacefaring races understand. A quantum physicist may theoretically understand it, but they actually know it and work with it. When you work with an energy that is not limited by time, space, speed of light, or gravity, you can go around and beyond the limitations of such things through another energy that's not comprised of those limits. It's one of the greatest secrets in the universe.
Scott, the way you explain, so I think can help people to imagine when they're having fear. Imagine it's like turn off the computer program, and then boom.
Let's make it practical. Let's say I'm feeling some fear and there's rapists on the planet, and there might be North Korea, and there could be Putin, and there could be this, and it could be COVID, and be that, and this, and all around them. It's chemtrails and G5, and oh my God, what am I going to do? They're sitting around in life being affected by all the negative energy and atmosphere that has been put in that atmosphere since this planet began, by everything that's ever been done to each other in many millions of years. So when we go into the first half of the word human, we begin to connect a certain doorway through the pineal gland, and it plugs into the pure energy that supports all life everywhere. We become telepathically aware of it. Telepathic means, in this sense, means the pure part of us connects to the pure part of it. It has nothing to do with positive and negative psychic energy. Psychic energy has nothing to do with the energies in the lower dimensions of time and space. It has nothing to do with nuclear energy or matter or DNA or a brain or a body. It has to do with the being running that body, communicating to the source it came from. And that energy out in space is a co-creator with us. So when we discover this, we begin to choose not to put our attention on the impulse to feel afraid or to imagine negative things. And we go into the hue, it will shut those things off and hit those keys. Gives us the time and freedom to wake up other faculties and go further. Usually we make the greatest advances when we're out of our bodies, outside the negative atmosphere of planet Earth. And people do this every night, but they don't have any idea where they're going or what they're doing when they come back in the morning, because they haven't learned how to use certain faculties to record in this consciousness that grew up here what it is you're doing. No one trains anybody this way. It's not available on this planet from anyone to really understand this. So it's like people are out there in the universe that know this stuff, and hundreds of billions of beings running around the stars. And they came to this world and offered the leaders of this world to set this planet free, and they were turned down out of fear. And tyrants tried to make treaties with people here in order to promise them technology we haven't earned and don't deserve, because they have an ulterior motive, a covert reason for doing it. And it's not for our benefit. People on Earth found this out shortly after they made such agreements. So they've been working for decades to get out of that trap. And they're getting out of it, but not because of their efforts, because of the efforts of beings not from Earth that are working with them to help them get out of it. It's just that simple. If people are going to run around on Earth fearing reptilians and grays today in bases underground, they're going to stay running around in a circle like a nail through their shoe into the floorboard trying to go, and they're just going to run around in circles because fear blocks awareness of all of that. So all I'm saying is, if people take their attention off fear of negative beings, whether they're extraterrestrial or out of body, and start putting on constructive, uplifting imagination, their world will change. And this is one of the primary laws of the source behind all life. And it is love and do as you will. Above the lower realms of time and space, it is love and do as you will. And love and do as you will there means love doesn't mean what it means to people on Earth. It means respecting all atmas in all forms on all life, on all planets in all dimensions. When beings can do that, they're taken out of this mass. They become master teachers in their own right, and they begin to help others get out of it. This is the natural way of things. Earth people are right now very far down the scale of remembering almost anything that matters. because they don't remember who they are. It's not one of these. They don't remember how to get out of it. They don't remember where they came from, for the most part. They don't remember why they exist or what their original purpose was. They don't remember, most importantly, what their actual destiny is. And that destiny is to co-create with the source itself. So we learn how to shut off negative things by our own conscious awareness. And we must do it, each individual, or we will gain nothing. You can live 180 years, you can live 2 lifetimes believing in this or believing in that, but until we actually choose to command what we imagine and choose to imagine and why, it won't make much progress. Fear and negative fear of the future creates the conditions around which a person, when they die, is compelled to go get into another baby body unconscious with no memory. The energy they call divine spirit they pray to is a co-creator, and it will simply provide what you wish for. It's not a judge, it's not biased in that way, but it is a teacher. The hue that represents that one omnipresent first sound behind all creation did not get created on planet Earth. It's not possessed by, controlled by, patented by, or owned by anyone on any world in any dimension. And it can't be. Anybody attempting to do that is in serious trouble. Because it's like an energy that if you try to dam it up and possess it, it'll flow over its banks or break through the walls and keep running. You can't hold it in your hands like this. People on Earth try to hold that energy in their hands like this to hoard money or to hoard power or to hoard what, and eventually it just breaks through and they just dissolve away and go old and die, and they can't bring anything with them. So they're wasting their entire lifetime playing that game. Beings on other worlds know better. They've learned long ago not to do that, and why. They could help this planet and its people recover that. But the people here have to request their assistance. They're not tyrants. I can't make this any clearer to people on this planet as a fellow being. I only do what I do now as a co-creator with the source to help a transformation take place to this planet. I don't do it for money. I don't do it for power. I don't do it for fame, fortune. Nobody can take any of that stuff with them in the blink of a lifetime this represents on this earth. None of it goes with anybody anywhere outside the body. So maybe our lifetime should be spent finding out who and what we are and what our purpose is, and stepping boldly into the center of the gravity, standing in our own center in order to recover how to co-create with the source. That's love. Because it doesn't do anything that other than be of beneficial nature to all life. And to do that, people need to be introduced to and be allowed to comprehend other beings, advanced beings and other races and other worlds and other realities and other dimensions in a safe way, so they can begin to respect not just themselves, because they begin to remember who they are, but the rest of that life as well. That is loving the greater God. Anything short of that will not do. When we go on these journeys, I begin by sending out this vibration. I don't own it. I didn't create it. Well, I was a co-creator originally with countless others in it, yes, long ago, but it is a one power that's quite beyond any individual. And it is a living conscious force. It's not an individual being like us. Collectively, all Atmas make up what is we call the source, prime creator, God, the supreme being, whatever people want to call that. But it isn't a being sitting on a throne somewhere with a booming voice dictating its terms to all life. We had a hand in that. One of the most terrorizing things people are afraid of is to actually confront being in front of, face to face with what they call God. They're really in terror of that. They feel guilty about this or that or what they do in life, and that will get in the way. And they're thinking in terms of the body when they're suffering from that kind of fear or self-consciousness. In reality, it is them as a drop of this source energy going in front of the source energy. They're identical. When a person begins to understand who they are and what source they come from, the fear that usually dominates them begins to fade away. And instead of fear, they find that there is a new nature welling up within the core of their being we call serenity of being. This is not a joy or sadness, a form of an emotional nature of an experience of a lifetime on earth. It is the nature of a being in communication with the source that has this quality we call serenity of being. The first thing any individual can do if they choose to, and they have a little courage, no matter whatever religion they're in, what they believe, they want to make it vital and alive and loving and enlightened, knowing. People want certainty of understanding. They are capable of it, but not if they are strictly, rigidly faceted to the belief that they can't know anything and they got to wait till they die to know it, because that is the way they've been for billions of years, and it has not gotten them out of here. So there's something wrong with that. So whatever a person believes, it should lead to direct experience one way or the other. Beings from other worlds that are very advanced with technology millions of years beyond us did not survive to be able to do what they do by being tyrants. Tyrants cannot and do not ever create anything new. They don't invent anything. Negative nature and emotions cannot innovate. Tyrants have been able to steal innovative energies and creations by benevolent beings in galactic history. They don't invent it themselves. Remember this, it's very important. When I begin these tones, it begins to help you do what you do with your body every night anyway. Put it to sleep, except you have the advantage of listening to my voice, which is really a telepathic function. Although you can hear it, and I'm speaking recorded in this Zoom session, I'm really speaking as an Atma to all of you, as an Atma fellow being. And when I begin this you, the body goes to this trance state called sleep. You put it in every night, but you stay aware. And then we get outside the planet Earth's atmosphere, out in space. This means the Atma that you really are, the spherical being, or what people call soul, the real you, gets out in space. It doesn't feel cold or heat. It doesn't feel radiation from the sun. It is not limited by a sleeping physical body back on Earth. And that body is run on automatic. And you can be a billion light years away and that body will still be fine in the trance state we call sleep. Usually with the eyes closed, it means no light is coming into the eyes from the outer physical world. That part of the brain is shut off. So when you're seeing things with your eyes closed and doing what we call just daydreaming, daydreaming is actually looking somewhere out in the multidimensional universe, in the present, on the planet you're on, or another world, or another dimension. And it is the Atma that's seeing it there. You're in a classroom. You're bored with the teacher. You're looking out the windows. You see the parking lot. You see some crows moving from tree to tree. You're listening to the teacher maybe, but you're focused outside. And then you start to daydream and see what it would be like to be in the mountains on a ski trip over the weekend, or on a beach in Hawaii, on another planet, in another time. And it is the real you that's able to do this, not the brain and body you grew up with. That brain and body and that brain is focused in the parking lot. You get the difference? There isn't a person alive on this planet ever learned enough in college or universities with every PhD they ever had to write the stories they write that involve such depth of so many other beings and things and whole histories, other worlds, other realities. This information is part of the omnipresent hue, first sound behind creation, the toroidal energy of the universe. And we plug into that. This is the first step of understanding to recovering who and what we are, what we can know, and how we can co-create with the source. This dramatically changes the conditions of our life. Given a little bit of time and a little bit of effort and some courage, every single individual can experience this for themselves. So I'll begin these shoes and I'll take them up in tone, and it's to help you put your physical body to sleep, which you do every night anyway, kind of unconsciously for most people. But it also puts your astral, causal, mental, and etheric bodies, a body you're running as a single being on all these other dimensions, what you would call higher heavens. And there are planes above those higher heavens. And there is a void known to certain esoteric groups on Earth that's a barrier between the dimensions of time and space and the realities above it, which is made of a different kind of energy. So I'm going to do this now to assist all of you to be able to go into the sleep state. Doesn't mean you might hear a truck go by through your ears because the eyes are closed. That's okay, because the body still has a sensory apparatus working in order if you need to inform you of an emergency or it's a fire in your house. You, the being, will be brought back to that body to take care of a situation. But while you're out and that body's snoring, nobody is home. The body's being run on automatic from a distance. There is a beam of energy between the white core of the sphere that you are and the pineal gland, the center of the brain. It cannot be broken. It can't be blasted apart from a ray transmission of technology. It cannot have an evil being affected in any way. It's made of an energy that is not of the lower worlds where positive and negative, good and bad, evil and benevolence exist, or malevolent and benevolent characteristics of being. So there is a protection that comes along with this when we do it. And I introduce people to beings that did not evolve on Earth, that are out in the universe, that are kind, highly evolved, masterful. In fact, they're master teachers in their own right. They are not of a tyrant extraterrestrial nature. They aren't of a higher dimension negative nature. And they have mastery over such things. Let's put it that way. So it benefits people to become aware of such beings because if asked, they can assist you to recover who and what you are safely. I'll begin those tones now. You. I'm going to plug these headphones in because we get a better recording quality of this journey if I do that. The body goes into the trance state called sleep. You still hear my voice. But you're hearing this beyond the recording. You're hearing this Atma to Atma. You, your real self, is hovering above the physical body you're familiar with on Earth, near the ceiling, looking down on it. This is easy. Daydream it. Just like you do when you're daydreaming. People that daydream on Earth have no effort in doing it. It's just natural. They just imagine being somewhere else, despite what's around them in their current environment. This is a higher faculty of the Atma or soul. It is not a function of the human brain. Until each and every individual becomes consciously aware of this great truth, they will make little progress to recovering who they are or why they're on this earth. It is essential. It is required. Not by me, by the source behind all life. The hue, or the sound it mimics, is a sound that runs through the entire multidimensional creation from the highest realm, many realities above, what we call the Atma plane, the plane of soul, or the first division or plane or dimension above what is called the void. The void is a pure form of energy with nothing apparently physically constructed in it. There are beings there, but not form. So it appears to be empty or a void. But it is a barrier between the upper realities and the lower worlds of time and space. It is in the multiverse. It's part of quantum physics. At least for the more enlightened quantum physicists, it is. It can be proven. There are 11 higher or more dimensions. They just don't know how to get to them. These realities are more real each higher level up in brightness of light, concentration of life than people experience running a body on Earth. Imagine that you are near the ceiling looking down on your body. Don't worry about how well you think you're doing with it or not. That doesn't matter. Fear and negative things are the only thing that feed doubt into your ability to see what you already know how to imagine when you daydream. When you're daydreaming, you don't think about whether you can do it or not. You don't doubt it, you just do it. When you're in the hue, the first half of the word human, hidden in plain sight. You man, you woman, you child, you animal, you plant, you stone, you tree, you atmosphere, you space, you toroidal, you omnipresent, a 0 point energy, energy of the universe, divine spirit, whatever you want to call it. It is a living conscious energy, one energy, and it is in existence to be a co-creator with us, meaning the Atma, not your physical body and brain, is meant to co-create new wondrous ways of doing things with it. You share it with it, and it's the one power that brings all things into manifestation. As individuals, we do not have the power to manifest anything. We have the power to imagine it and send it off into this one omnipresent energy, which is the power that can manifest things, and it does, good or bad or both. So you see, we need to discover how to master what we imagine so that what it creates for us is only of an uplifting, beneficial nature to all life, including our own. When I do this, I am connecting to the source behind all life directly, instantly, because the energy that runs through the universe, from the highest to the lowest, is one type of energy. It is behind and supporting all other dimensions, planets, planes, interdimensional doorways, spaceships, bodies, extraterrestrials, people on Earth, you name it. It's all existing in this one supportive energy. And it is how we live and move and have our being. It is not limited by time and space. It exists separate from it, although it supports it. And it's not limited by the speed of light. There really isn't any limit to the speed of light, except by the limits of the imagination and perceptions of human eyes to detect it. When it goes faster than that speed, it simply goes beyond the range of human eyes to be able to see it. So they go into infrared and ultraviolet and X-rays and all these other things they've labeled, these different frequencies of energy. In reality, it's one energy operating on different levels or frequencies. A parallel dimension with billions of galaxies in it, all the molecules that make it up that float in this energy of the universe all move at the same molecular time rate. In a slightly higher parallel dimension of the physical universe, the molecular time rate is different, and so forth. You are near the ceiling, looking at your body. You can look through the walls of your house from here and see your neighbors, the surrounding countryside you're familiar with. When you look up, you can see the atmosphere, the air. It can be day or night. But to you, the atma floating outside the body, it appears bright because you illuminate everything. And you are at 10,000 feet in the atmosphere now, looking down on your town. You can focus like you have a telephoto lens, a zoom lens. You can zoom down right through the roof of where you live and see yourself as a sphere of light hovering near the ceiling above a body with its eyes closed, laying down or sitting upright. When you look up, you can see the stars of space through the clouds, through the atmosphere, whether it's day or night. And then you suddenly realize that you are in outer space, floating in a circle of beings around another being, a friend of mine, and who is becoming and can become a friend of yours. We are in a circle of beings floating in the void of space, so-called, looking down in the distance on the polar ice caps of planet Earth, the oceans and land masses, and it's turning on its axis. And to the left, circling that planet, is the barren moon, with meteor craters all over it, little to no atmosphere, and very little gravity. It does not turn on its axis as it circles the planet Earth. And in the distance, our medium-sized yellow sun we call Sol. You can see billions of stars all around us in every direction, down below, up above, to the right, to the left. And they are big blue, white giants, yellow suns, or red dwarfs, or giant red dwarfs. They could be red and be large or small. There are planetary systems out there in space that revolve around singular, binaural, and trinaural, or binary and trinary sun systems. This is known in astronomical terms, astrophysics circles today. And those sun systems, these trinary and binary and singular sun systems, have planets circling them, orbiting them, in the billions in our one Milky Way galaxy alone. In space, this is just imagination, this is daydreaming. You can still feel your body on Earth. Hopefully it's still and calm, breathing deeply, relaxed. It's safe. There are beings who watch over it while we go on these journeys. They are not from Earth, and they are just kind. Very advanced. No negative nature. If there's any negativity you bring here, you bring it here. They do not. One of the things this does while we're outside the planet, circling around another being who I'll introduce, is it keeps the subconscious programs, the emotional and imaginative negative influential programs that compel a person to fear the present and the future, shuts them off. Temporarily, they come back on or there when you come back to that body, like they do every morning when you wake it up after a good night's sleep. You look towards the center of all of us floating in a circle. There is a being standing there 18 feet tall compared to us. His slightly curvy, long flowing blonde hair, big blue eyes, slightly pointed ears like an elf, single piece gown. He's standing there like a Greek god, about 36 years of age. He has his two hands out with his thumbs up, and there's a golden white light circling them that he's emanating. Creates a kind of a transparent bubble or sphere around all of us as a shield to keep all negative things outside of this field. In this energy of space all around us, between stars and planets and moons and suns, to you, the Atma, it appears like a white golden light packed with this energy. It is not black as you see in time-lapse photography of the Hubble telescope or that radio telescopes and the combination of the two and all that. It is a white golden light because the Atma can see it for what it is. And it's like you're breathing in and out. It moves through you and continues, and moves out from you and continues. It has a sound running through it like roaring thunder, but it's soft. It's not frightening. And this is the sound that the toroidal 0-point or energy of the universe makes in the physical dimensions, particularly in the physical dimension. There are a number of higher major planes or divisions beyond the physical reality. Next one is astral, causal, mental, etheric, void, and then the higher realities themselves, which people have long since forgotten existed at any time. At least most people on Earth have. You are floating in a white golden light. This energy out in space you cannot record negative thoughts, positive thoughts, fears, or any negative emotion or imagination in it. There's nothing in this energy that will allow that. It is the one living energy that supports and sustains all life in the grand multidimensional creation. It is the one energy, this one energy, that beings of advanced spacefaring capability have had to learn how to work with it in order to make their craft work the way they do. More advanced intergalactic craft do not pollute space or use energy. They've designed their craft to channel this zero-point energy through them and create their own electromagnetic field around their craft from which they can simply focus it and go anywhere they wish. If they learn how to travel through the interdimensional doorways that exist in profuse numbers throughout the multidimensional creation, and they have the right technology, they can go far beyond the speed of light as it's known on Earth. And they do. To races out there in what's called the Galactic Interdimensional Alliance of Free Worlds, centered on a planet near the galactic core of our Milky Way galaxy. Not in the center, near it. To those people, traveling amongst the stars, even between galaxies, is like getting on a bus. They grow up with it. They're used to it for millions of years, sometimes much longer than that. So the technology is not new. It's just new on planet Earth. In space around Trillian, you begin to see a body form right in front of you, which means you, the real you, the spherical you, is looking at a body form take shape. It looks just like you on Earth, but it's perfectly, flawlessly built, perfectly healthy, about 36 of age, whether it's man or woman. And it's an energy form, a way that we show each other who we are as Atmas when we meet like this. Trillian is showing you his 18-foot tall body. When you look up above that body he's showing you, you see a spherical Atma, looks like you, and it has structure, form, shape. There's a white core. There's a layer of teardrop-shaped self-effulgent lights that encircle that white core, a distance from the core. Each one is a higher faculty of being, of what we call Atma, the soul. And there's another layer around that, and a concentric circles of wider and deeper diameter layers around that. It goes from a white core through yellow, through orange, through red, green, blue, violet, lavender,